So hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Christine Schultz-Richard. I am a product owner with EBSCO. I work on the team that focuses largely on MARC cataloging and inventory and MARC authority search and browse. As you might expect, inventory and MARC authority search and browse is the topic today. We will be looking at releases past, present, and future, as well as taking part in a little prioritization exercise to get a sense of what might be even further in the future. So as I mentioned, we're going to be looking at some releases, particularly Casenalia, Ramsons, and Sunflower, talking through some of those features, as well as looking at some screenshots and small animations on what some of those features look like. There was a pre-session survey conducted about some of these features. We'll go over those results together, and then we will take part in the prioritization exercise and then share the results and think about what the future might look like. So as I mentioned, we'll start with the release recap. Starting with Casenalia. So the team works on many areas, as I mentioned. These are just the features and enhancements related to search and browse. One of the main ones we did was on updates to LCCN search, particularly normalization. And then we made some key UI enhancements, like adding the authority source file to the results list in MARC Authority app. We're updating the HTML page title with the search query itself, which facilitates saving searches, search history, but then also greater accessibility. To advanced search, we added the contains any modifier, which joined the contains all, exact phrase, and starts with modifiers. And then we've added the option for relevant sort. An important note about Casenalia is that we hope to release a critical service patch, or a CSP. This CSP will be focused on call number browse, all. We will take a look at what that will look like in just a moment right now, actually. So now we're going to go through what some of these features look like. Starting with the Casenalia CSP. What we're looking at are two screenshots side by side of Casenalia Bugfest versus the Casenalia CSP test environment. In these screenshots, we're browsing for the same query, here the number 9, and we can see it's interfiled differently. What's happening here is that there's some sort of grouping mechanism. So right now it's showing up with call numbers with no type, but you can see on the right, we see a shelving control number, a doing number, and so on. So the call numbers all is no longer considering the type when interfiling. And then this will come up again in our survey results. The next feature would be the relevant sort. This is just a small animation. So as an example, maybe I'm looking for leaves of grass, but I'm not looking for works about leaves of grass or works compiled from leaves of grass. I want just straight up leaves of grass. So here I can select the relevant sort option, which gets me closer to what I'm looking for. So here I'm selecting it. There we go. Moving on to Ramsons. So the team focused heavily on search and browse for Ramsons. I think 6 features total related to search and browse. One of them being improving the handling and sorting, or handling of sorting and searching with diacritics. In that same feature, we made all searches case insensitive. We are currently working on a feature for sorting and filtering on dates. We added an index for publication place. The next 2 features, my team Spitfire work, or I should say Khalil and our team worked on, but then we also got help from FoliJet, of which Ryan Taylor, a colleague, is PO. Those 2 features would be subject granularity. So we're adding more information about the subjects, the subject source, and the type. That'll be on the instance detail view. We'll see that in a moment. It'll also play into the browse experience for subjects. You'll be able to limit by that source and/or type. The next one, again, FoliJet worked on, it's the ability to navigate between preceding and succeeding titles straight from the instance view. And I believe I'm going to show that in a second here too. And then finally, features related, we're building out browsing by instance classification. Some of the key UI enhancements we've made, we created a configuration for the ability to set the default sort per tenant. So currently, as you probably know, it sorts by title. But let's say I actually want it to sort by relevance by default. So I set that at the tenant level, and then every time a new search is run, that'll be the sort. And then, of course, you can resort. Also related to sorting, we added some indicators on the columns to indicate, of course, the existing one that shows what sort is active. I am not the host, so which sort is active, but then also what columns are sortable to help with the usability. And then finally, one of those enhancements would be adding the subfields to the MARC authority search results. So taking a look, first I'm going to show the diacritic sorting and search enhancement. So here I'm performing a search on Maori, both with and without the diacritic, and I'm seeing the same exact results. They're sorting. It's no longer grouping by the terms that have the diacritics or without the diacritics. Next would be date filter and sort. So there are really three components to this. We've added new fields to capture the date type, honoring the fact that we're not always sorting on a publication date. And then we have two input fields for two dates or related dates. We've added that data to the results list, and that column is sortable. This is kind of a fast GIF. But then, of course, we've added the filter itself, right now called the date range filter. And as you might expect, you can enter a date range. You could also enter just a from date to get greater than or equal to, or a to date to get less than or equal to. Yeah, you can test this out in Snapshot right now. So here is a preview of the subject granularity work that Ryan's team FoliJet worked on. In the bottom right-hand corner, if you can see that, it's the subject accordion. So it has the subject listed, but now it also is broken up into subject, source, and type. As I mentioned, this will also feed into the browse experience. You'll be able to limit by those source and type. So let's say the type is a genre form heading, you'll be able to limit to that. But that work is currently in progress. Finally, other work by FoliJet. Thank you, Ryan, for letting me showcase it. So on the preceding and succeeding titles, there is now a magnifying glass next to those titles. Once you click it, it triggers a search in inventory to find that related title. So you can move forwards and backwards just to help facilitate that navigation. All right. So moving on to Sunflower. The list of features specifically related to search and browse include browsing by series, as well as performing a refactor of call number browse. What this does will simplify the code. We will create a more stable foundation on which to build, and hopefully, we will fix existing issues. We are adding additional headings to browse and search in the MARC Authority app, and then we're making enhancements to exact phrase. We will, of course, be doing work that's smaller in scope, but some key enhancements. We're just still teasing out what that work will be. What I have for you is a preview of series browse. Now, this will likely change. It's just an initial mock-up, basically showing that it's the same experience as any browse option. So I have my series option. I've entered a query. I didn't get an exact match, so there's a would be here placeholder, and so on. We're still analyzing this, and especially metadata management SIG. There's some good conversations going, particularly around which data is shown in the series statement here.
Christine, are you still sharing?
I am.
Do other people see her screen?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Christine. Go ahead.
It's okay. Thanks for checking. So now we're going to talk about some of the results of a pre-session survey that we conducted between August 19th and September 6th. This survey sought to gather feedback both on current functionality of Inventory and MARC Authority search and browse, including strengths, weaknesses, as well as what might be some opportunities in the future. In total, we had about 23 participants. So thank you all who participated. Now I'm going to go into a summary of each of these areas. So first, we're going to start with inventory search. In the upper left-hand corner, you may see that we had 23 responses in this area. There was an overall satisfaction rating of about 3.35 out of 5. On the right, I have grouped the feedback based on whether we can consider it a strength, a weakness, an opportunity, or even a threat. By threat, I mean a major flaw that makes it challenging to perform a workflow or even impossible. So starting with inventory search, some of the strengths that were called out include the new advanced search functionality, as well as general keyword search. Some participants mentioned CQL, the ability to perform more precise and targeted searches. And then in general, participants mentioned the easy to use interface and the speed and accuracy of search results. And then there was mention of satisfaction with the available filters. As far as weaknesses, the lack of granularity with some indexes was noted, particularly with subjects. So I'm happy to say that we are working on that in Ramson's. The next two really relate to, in general, insufficient documentation. One thing that was called out specifically is logic with wildcards being confusing and differences in different indexes. And then a common thing you will see is that the diacritic sorting was brought up as a weakness. Again, we addressed in Ramson's. As far as the opportunities, you will see a lot of filters. The first being the date sort and filter feature, which we are working on in Ramson's, and then a couple other features for library name, catalog date, created by, and loan type. And then there was a call out for being able to differentiate e-resources from non-e-resources on the results list. I'm happy to say that with inventory search, there were no major threats identified. Moving on to browse, we had fewer responses here, slightly fewer at 19, as well as a slightly lower satisfaction rating of 3.1 out of 5. In general, contributors and subject browse were called out as some strengths. Weaknesses, again, were diacritic sorting. And in opportunities, we had 3 new browse options that were noted: genre, title, and series. In genre, there's some support by being able to filter by subject type in Ramson's, and series we're working on for Sunflower. There was also an opportunity noted for being able to export some results from browse. As far as threats, so by and large, call number browse was called out as a threat, being unable to perform certain workflows. And for that, again, we're working on that for our QCSP. I also wanted to call out here again the call number browse feature to resolve the remaining issues. Moving on to MARC Authority. For this, I combined both search and browse feedback because of the current relatively fewer users. Here we have 7 responses. It did have a slightly higher overall satisfaction rate of 3.7 out of 5. Many of the strengths mirrored that of inventory. So the advanced search functionality was called out, the keyword search option specifically, as well as it being user-friendly. But some specific to MARC Authority include separate options for types of heading and the new authority source file in the column for it in the MARC Authority results. Some weaknesses. There were only 2 main ones, one being that the personal name and name title were separate options. So that's something I'll definitely investigate. And then once again, diacritic sorting. One opportunity was noted, and that was to make a new index on the 6xx notes field. Like inventory search, MARC authority didn't have any major threats. All right, so here is potentially the most fun or the most problematic because we'll be dealing with technology, so we'll see how it goes. We're going to take place in kind of an informal prioritization activity. It's called the $100 test, and I'll explain that in a moment. But the scope of this is going to be specifically inventory, browse, and search features because of the relatively fewer users of MARC authority at this moment. We're going to look at both features that are currently in the folio backlog, as well as any that were identified in the survey. Then we're going to, again, experiment is the word I used with the prioritization activity to rank them by relative priority or impact. And then we're going to review the results together. This is the list of features. Again, these are features that are both in the backlog and many of them reiterated in the survey, actually. So in the area of search, we have features related to new indexes, such as a separate one for a resource title, some item-related ones on accession number and copy number, results list, export, as well as adding new elements. There are a few features specifically for resource type, instance HRID, and addition to the results list. You will see the features for filtering, which look like that from the results set. We have some related to item records, the loan date, the loan type, and then the request status, as well as those noted library name, catalog date, and created by. Finally, in browse, we have the export of some of the results, genre browse and title browse, and then one for browsing holdings call number. This one, if you're unfamiliar, call number browse is very item centric right now. This request is to be able to browse the true holdings call number, especially regardless of the presence of items. Because right now that call number would not appear if that holdings do not have items. I'll give a second. There's a lot here, but just take it in. Okay. And you'll see this list again in a moment. Right, so what are we doing? This is a method called the $100 test, and it's where each participant has a fictional $100 to spend, or we can think about as points, to allocate to features based on priority or impact. So what you consider to be the most impactful feature or features on this list. Here is just a very simple example, perhaps for features that were considered for a fictional online ordering system. So we have features for order tracking, recommendations based on my order history, analytics, and maybe integrations with other tools. So I took my 100 points and allocated them as such. You can see that I think order tracking is most important, and we should focus on that and do it right first. And then in subsequent order, I think they're less important. I didn't have to allocate them to all features. I could have put all 100 in order tracking. All right, so in order to do this, we're going to try to use a tool called Menti. It is a collaborative survey tool. We each will have our $100 or points to allocate to features. Again, you don't have to assign points to every feature. An important thing to note is it's called a test, but it's not a test, and it's certainly not a test of you. So you don't have to be quiet. It's not heads down. You can talk to each other. Also important to note, it would be anonymous. So it's not tied to your name. You don't have to create an account or log in. And then I'm putting a very generous time box of 10 minutes on it, which is likely way too long, but I just want to make sure I don't keep you. Once we go through how to join, you should see a screen like that on the right. So once you do the join instructions, that'll pop up. Again, not a login screen. It'll show the features listed as well as, a input box where you can put your points, and it'll show you how many points you'll have left. All right, let's see. Okay. Okay. There we go. Okay. You would need to log in because I'm not on my computer. One second. I'll go ahead and do that. Yeah, which button did it press? You know? Right. Thank you as always for helping me, Ryan, both with features and technical issues. How do you do that? Mhm. All right, let's try it this way. Sorry about this. You can also talk amongst yourself right now. This is now a test of me. Let me try this instead. Usually there is a QR code that you'll be able to scan, but there's also a way to join by visiting the website. Let's see how big is that? Okay. And then I believe I stopped sharing my screen on Zoom. Is that right, Kathleen? Thanks. Okay. Thank you for your patience. What? What happened? I was like, I swear I see it. Please. Okay. What? Okay. All right. So thank you. So if you on any device type in that URL, menti, MENTI.com, and enter in this passcode, again, you should not have to sign in or create an account. Laura got it. Thank you, Laura. Let me know if there are any issues. right. Is everyone who wants to participate signed in? All right, so now. Oh, great. Everyone's already, okay. So it's kind of hard to see because of we have a long list. But what's happening as you are entering your points, it's taking the percentage of all those points and ranking them here. Again, take your time. I will put our time limit just in case we need it. It's not enough. You need more points. And then once you do enter your points, there should be a submit button at the bottom. So far, we do have a lot of those filters rising to the top. For inventory search. Good. Oh, oh, oh. Thank you to that helpful person in Zoom. That's great. Thank you, Kathleen, and the helpful participant. Yeah, none received 0 points so far. Are people still filling it out? They've stabilized. All right. So Jennifer, the barcode rose to the top. Very good. It's because this will be All right. Does anyone have any thoughts about what rose to the top? Are you surprised by any that are at the bottom? Oh, yeah, let's try. Is that any better? It is very hard to see. Yep. Very true. Thank you, Ryan. Any other thoughts that you want to share? Or concerns, for that matter? Yes. You're not happy with it. Why not? Mm, I see. Yeah. Oh, they can't hear the question. So the question or the concern was, we don't really agree with barcodes being in the keyword search. Change the label. All right.
Yes, and for you, yes, but they should just correct it.
Looks like we have a topic for metadata management SIG. Thank you. Oh, is there? Oh, Felix.
Yes, I got you. Avoiding that creepy spot.
Hi, Christine.
Hello.
Would that mean that barcode is only be added to the item segment keyword search or to all segments of keyword search? So regardless of I'm in the instance, holdings, or item.
That's a great question. I think you're bringing up a great point, Felix, in that more work needs to be done to really analyze these, flesh out requirements, again, perhaps bring up in metadata management SIG what our expectations are. I believe this feature was written to put it in item segment, but there may be use cases, maybe you have some for putting it in all 3 segments. But we can definitely explore that. All right. Thank you so much for participating in it. And thank you so much for your patience. I'm glad that we were able to get it to work. Let me refresh one more time just in case. Okay. still the same ones are rising to the top. Okay. Well, okay, I was going to say we did get through the most interesting part. So there's only a few more slides, so. Okay, so this is what Felix was alluding to, or helping me allude to, in that some of the next steps are, so I'm going to share this. I'm going to put it into the presentation, and I'll attach the slides so we can all view it again. But then an important point is that this is just one kind of informal, simple exercise to prioritize. We need, of course, to layer in other techniques, get even more people, maybe some people weren't able to participate. Maybe, we have to tease out what impacts which libraries, how do we want to consider that in our prioritization efforts. So there's a lot of work to be done to gather requirements and continue fleshing these out. And then once there's a better understanding of requirements and use cases, at that point, we can start planning our implementation plan and move forward. So how do you stay involved in all of that? A really great way to do that is to participate in the user acceptance tests, or UATs. This is a chance to test drive new functionality, submit your feedback that helps us perhaps implement important enhancements, or really importantly, helps us identify issues so we can fix them before the functionality is released. And in the metadata management space as a whole, not just search and browse, POs are creating feedback forms, posting them to Slack, and every area of source, of course, search, cataloging, data import, data export, bulk edit, and lists. So please, if you have a chance and you'd like to, we'd love your feedback in the UATs. So with that, that is all I have. Are there any questions that I can? Oh, Laura, there's.
So my top priority on the list was browse holdings call number, but as I was thinking about it, really browse holdings call number in my mind is a workaround for the fact that, and I take responsibility for this, SMEs didn't really explicitly articulate what we meant when we defined the effective call number element. The fact that the effective call number is an item level property means that we can't browse by effective call number if we don't have an item record. So do we say we want to be able to browse holdings call number, or do we go back and we fix that problem with that element instead?
What would you envision the fix to be?
The fix to be that there is an effective call number element that resides in the holdings and item, and it follows the same logic. So that if you have a call number in your holdings record, whether you have an item or not, there's no call number in the item. Your effective call number is your holdings call number. Mm-hmm. If you have an item with a call number specified, that is the effective call number. Mm-hmm. And then browse call number as it exists now would work whether we store our call number of record in our holdings or our item data.
That's a great point, Laura.
So, but then I wonder how many of these other things are, like, do we really need that additional search, that additional filter, or did we implement something else in a way that wasn't really what we envisioned because we didn't articulate it well? So I would love for us to think about that and not do, in my mind, why should we spend time developing a holdings call number browse when we could just fix the data?
Thank you, Laura. That's a wonderful point. When we revisit these features, that's exactly what I would love to do. We know there was a need to be able to have that call number included, but maybe we didn't envision it in a way that everything we know now, maybe it doesn't make much sense anymore. So how can we tweak that feature, come up with a different solution? So that's a really great point, Laura. Thank you. I can't wait to pick your brain on it. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right. I think I'm going to give you quite a bit of time back. So thank you so much. And again, thank you so much for your participation. That would have been a lot more boring without your help. So thank you so much. Thanks.